Satisfy your sweet and salty cravings at the Hy-Vee snack sale this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Featuring Hy-Vee potato chips, 98 cents. Coca-Cola 6-packs, $2.98 each when you buy 4. Little Debbie snacks in a family pack, just $1.48 each. Get these hot deals and so much more during the Hy-Vee snack sale this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday only at Hy-Vee.
This is a CNA podcast.
Now picture this. You are in a river. You know that the river is infested with crocodiles, but you trust your guide to keep you safe. At a distance, you see a body with shaggy red fur wading through the water. The orangutan's body, the size of a 6-foot man, hunkers down behind a tree. He clutches the edge of the trunk, peeking around it. Now, this was the moment Jayaprakash Bojan took the photograph that changed his entire career. Hello and welcome to the Climate Conversations. I'm your host, Julie Yoo. Join me as I get personal with the people driving change in sustainability. You've all seen photos of turtles tangled up in plastics. Those striking photos have spurred global action against single-use plastics. It's pictures like these which confront you with the real impact of the way you live. For wildlife photographers, they're first-hand witnesses of a climate-stressed world. Their lens showcases the changes that are unmistakable and which are potentially hurting our planet. Here to talk about what he's seen is an award-winning photographer, Jayaprakash Bojan himself. He was National Geographic Nature Photographer of the Year in 2017. Jaya, welcome to the Climate Conversations.
Thank you, Julie.
First off, let's talk about that striking orangutan photo titled Face to Face in a River in Borneo. Why was this the photograph that changed your entire career?
Well, I was originally in Borneo looking for some other species because I was working on a book on primates of Southeast Asia. It's supposed to be more like a photo story book. I was actually looking for proboscis monkeys. They're actually brilliant swimmers. So one morning I met one of the rangers. They were coming back from night patrol and I know a few of them. So usually they would come up onto the board and have a cup of tea. So I was just asking them if they've seen a large group of proboscis monkeys. Then one of the rangers says, we haven't seen many proboscis monkeys along the riverside lately. But last week we saw a huge male orangutan, not really swimming across, but walking across a river. That gave me goosebumps because if people know, orangutans are predominantly arboreal in nature. They hate water and these are crocodile-infested waters. So there was no reason for an orangutan to be there out in the water. In fact, the mothers would teach babies not to get into water or not get very close to water. So I was very, very curious. They gave us some vague directions. We went there, waited for 2 days, and nothing really happened. And the third morning, it just happened around the same area. He saw me and he hid behind a tree. And I was hiding behind another tree. It was basically kind of like hide-and-seek game that was happening between me and this huge male. And I just peeked out to see if he was still there. And I think timing was just perfect because the orangutan also was just peeking out to see if I was there. So that's why I titled the picture Face to Face, because we're just looking at each other. And that was the shot.
Wow, what an encounter. National Geographic called it a striking photo of an orangutan that highlights a grim reality. What was that grim reality? Has anything changed since you took that iconic photo?
Borneo has changed. I used to go there almost once in 2 months. We lost a lot of the forest cover to palm oil farming and illegal logging. I've flown a lot of drones in those areas to really get a 30,000 feet view of some of these patches. I've seen huge patches of forest just disappear in forest fires. Some probably human-induced fires and some probably natural fires. A lot of the peat swamps. So basically these are kind of like swampy forests. So underneath that, leaves and broken trees and all of that over the years is just rotten and it creates a lot of carbon dioxide. So we call it the carbon sink. Under the water, these swamps are holding a lot of carbon dioxide.
Right.
So the minute you suck all that water out to clear these forests, all the carbon dioxide is obviously going to be released into the atmosphere, resulting in huge temperature increases. And it just becomes more hotter and hotter everywhere.
I hear that after the photo was published, this Japanese gentleman reached out to you saying how it changed his approach to palm oil. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, that was interesting. So this guy reached out to me and he said he actually used to make soaps. Palm oil is pretty much any soap that you pick out of the shelves of any store today has palm oil in it. So he got back to me saying that he was so impacted by the photograph that he stopped using palm oil on his soaps and he was using some other alternative for his soaps. I felt the image had a story to tell. So that's one reason why I picked that specific image for the competition.
I guess my favorite photo of yours was this very intimate photo of a mother orangutan holding a baby orangutan. There's a spectacular story behind it. I wonder if that's part of one of the work that you're most proud of.
Yes, I wanted to do like a baby series. For me, capturing these photos in these places, it's not just about creating beautiful images for me. It's about trying to tell stories through these images, trying to make these photographs a lot more impactful. So I'm constantly trying hard to capture those emotions when I'm photographing. So I did like a mother-baby series. A lot of people liked some of those pictures. So I remember meeting a little baby orangutan along with her mother. One of the rangers told me that the mother was found as a baby. Her mother was shot down next to her by some people in the river. So she was rescued. And then she went through this whole rehabilitation process. And then later on, she was released back into the wild.
Wow.
But since she was hand-raised by humans, it was just amazing because after several years, she came back with her own baby.
A beautiful story. Wow.
And because she was hand-raised by humans, so she was a lot more comfortable in the human presence. They recognized her as one of those orangutans which they rescued and released. And, it's just touching to see her come back.
You traveled everywhere, from rainforest to scorching corners of the Sahara Desert. But when the pandemic hit, you were stuck in Singapore and you turned your search for wildlife in Pasir Ris Park. Many of us would think it's just a neighborhood park, but you called it a treasure trove of wildlife. Tell us about some of the unusual encounters that you had.
When COVID happened, a lot of my projects went on hold, obviously, because we couldn't travel. So I was pretty much jobless. I wasn't sure what I would be doing. Though I've been in Singapore for about close to 7 years now, I have to be honest, I haven't explored Singapore wildlife so much myself because mostly I was traveling overseas. I happen to stay probably 100 meters from Pasir Ris Park. So it's just walking distance. So I said, why not explore my own backyard? So that's what happened. And then started going there literally every morning. I would go there by like 5 and spend time till about 9:30, 10 until it gets hot. And I felt there was more potential to do a lot more because every day I was seeing something special.
What did you get to see?
So many. I mean, reticulated pythons, pit vipers, so many species of birds. We have some beautiful species of mudskippers. Everything from small to big. We have a reasonably good migration season every year, though we really don't have winter. But around winter time around the world, here in Singapore, we have quite a few migratory birds which kind of do like a pit stop because they're all moving to other parts of Asia and they've been flying across the ocean from Australia and Africa and all these places.
I guess it's a testament to how clean our ecosystems are here in Singapore. But Jaya, to do what you do must require a lot of physical stamina, endurance, and patience, given that most of the time you're not in control of the scene nor your subjects. So what's not so fun about your job? How do you cope with the challenges?
For me, having switched from, 19 years on the corporate side, end of 2016, I just quit and I said, I'm done. I want to do something that I really care about and I enjoy doing. I said, I want to become a storyteller. So this is like a dream come true for me, what I get to do, just be out there in the wild. I mean, that's my comfort zone.
Would you really call it a comfort zone, being in the wild with mosquitoes and insects?
There are times when weather conditions are extremely tough to manage. So I do have issues with dehydration, constipation, but I think just the outcome overshadows some of those challenges. Obviously, I know a lot of my friends, they get carried away because they see me in Africa one day, the next day I'm in Japan. So they think it's sometimes a cool job, and some of them would come along with me
and say never again.
Yeah, and they would say, man, I'm not cut out for something like this. I think you have to be really crazy about something like this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hi, I'm Adrian Tan.
And I'm Crispina Robert.
We are the host of a new podcast called Work It.
We're here to get into the essential things that no one tells you about working in company culture, from office politics to dealing with burnout.
If you've ever wanted to eavesdrop on an interesting conversation by the water cooler,
This podcast is for you.
look out for our episodes wherever you get your podcast.
Tell me some tricks to spotting animals in the wild. I mean, there's a saying that when you continuously visualize something, it happens. I mean, is that true?
I'm a 10,000% believer in this. I think technically what happens is if you constantly envision something and then when things happen, you are in a better position to capture what you envisioned. You've already seen it in your mind, so you're better equipped, your timing gets better, your composition, where you position, your angle, and all of those just fall into place because you've already seen it in your head. So it's like a natural process. A lot of newcomers have a fear of missing. The minute they see a bird or an animal, a lot of them don't take too much time to absorb the environment, take some time to compose. So they're in a hurry because you're usually scared that you're going to miss the moment or the bird is going to fly away. Gradually, the more time you spend out there, I think you slow down, and there's a good possibility that if you had taken those few extra minutes to observe what's around you, you would have probably made a better story or a better image than what you actually got. So I always tell my friends, just slow down a little bit, take your time.
That's a great tip. And Jaya, as a wildlife photographer and filmmaker, you are up close and personal with nature. And I hear you were once slapped by a monkey. A red fox came and licked your shoes in Japan. I mean, having such close encounters with animals and through your lens, what have you observed about the impact of climate change on these animals and their habitats?
Well, firstly, I think there is a strong correlation between wildlife and climate change because habitats are changing. And I believe also studies show that loss of some of the species also is in some ways affecting climate change. But for me, largely, every time I travel, I see huge patches of just forest disappearing. Along with that, a lot of these species. So every time I travel now, I think in the last 2 years, obviously, I haven't traveled much, but then it's become harder and harder to find some of these species when I visit these places because they are migrating to other smaller patches for food. Weather conditions have become a lot more extreme. It's getting hotter and hotter every year. I think even the weather patterns have dramatically changed. It's raining at odd times. So a lot of these species, a lot of these animals predominantly depend on food in the forest. So when there's a change in the climate cycle or the climate conditions, it directly impacts the food because the fruits or the plants are not growing as much they need to in those specific seasons.
Can you perhaps share with us some of the positive things that you've seen in the environment that give you hope for the future?
I met this guy who's just a local guide, Kalimantan. He's so passionate about saving forests. He runs a local ecotourism. He's trained all the village boys in the surroundings to become like guides. And these guys, will you believe, all the money they make out of these stores and the tips and all that, they pull in all this money and they've started buying land around the river just so that these pieces of land are not sold to the palm oil farms or to other organizations.
Wow.
There is hope because there are a lot of amazing people doing amazing work around the world.
And Jaya, do you have any specific goals for the future and what you want to do from here on as a photographer and someone who's in a position to make a bigger impact through your work?
I always say, even if I can actually make a difference in one person's life through my picture, it's still a win-win for me. I don't have very big goals. My goal is constantly to see how I can bring people closer to nature. I say this because I strongly believe that only if you love something really dearly, you will care about it and do something about it. Just like human relationships. My goal is just to see how I can help people fall in love with nature. So that way, I think I can be a lot more impactful because if I can influence you to fall in love with nature, then you will do everything right to take care of nature. So it's like just trying to hit the basics, get the foundation right.
Yeah, it's an urgent reminder that we should try to preserve our environment for the future generations to enjoy. I mean, otherwise, the only way future inhabitants will know of such beauty is through the photos of yours and others, which would be a very sad future indeed. Jaya, best of luck. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm looking forward to seeing more of your fascinating work.
Thank you, Julie. Thanks for having a conversation.
Special thanks to my guest, and thanks to all of you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Do remember to subscribe and like this podcast so you know when a new episode drops. You can find CNA's climate and sustainability coverage online at cna.asia. The team behind this podcast is Audrey Wan, Jacqueline Chan, Daniel Lee, and Crispina Robert. And I'm Julie Yoo, signing off.
Woodhouse Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is bringing you more this holiday season, finishing the year with big savings on the entire model lineup during the Wrap Up the Year sales event. Save up to $13,000 off MSRP on a 2024 Ram 1500 Crew Cab Laramie 4x4 for qualified buyers. Explore all our year-end lease and finance deals at WoodhouseCDJRBellevue.com or WoodhouseChryslerJeepDodge.com. This is Woodhouse. With approved credit, tax title license extra. When financed with Chrysler Capital. $299 doc fee due at signing. Stock number BC240134. Offer expires 12/31/2023. See dealer for details.